Boston isn't just perhaps the most established city, it's likewise quite possibly the most walkable, and we'd even go similarly as saying it's one of the least demanding to investigate. From the Italian underlying foundations of the North End to Boston's quintessential block veneers and New England beguile, the city has chronicled and social interest everywhere. First-time guests thinking about what to do in Boston will be excited to find that there is a movement to satisfy each sort of explorer: Red Sox games for the avid supporters, shellfish shucked new at the Boston's best eateries for the foodies, Freedom Trail strolling visits for the set of experiences buffs, and public green spaces for unwinding in the mid-year. Boston is a personal city, however its social expansiveness causes it to feel like a lot bigger center. You can devour a portion of the nation's best faint entirety in Chinatown, at that point walk 15 minutes and be at a distillery by the water. You can go through an evening at an incredibly famous workmanship gallery and end up at a Sox game that evening, or start your day walking the Harvard University grounds and end the day taking in a show at the unbelievable House of Blues. 1. Museum of Fine Arts. The MFA in Boston houses more than 500,000 show-stoppers, from old Egyptian ancient rarities to contemporary work, with one of the biggest Japanese workmanship assortments outside of Japan and an extensive cluster of French Impressionist works. Established in 1870, the exhibition hall currently sees over 1 million guests each year. Be set up to put in a couple of hours here, as the assortment is overpowering in degree and size. On the off chance that you just have an hour or thereabouts, get a features map, which drives guests through 12 works of art in 60 minutes, including Monet's Water Lilies, or one of their particular visits zeroing in on African American or Latin American workmanship, or a visit intended for families. 2. Boston Public Garden. The main public greenhouse in America, the Boston Public Garden borders the length of Boston Common. The nursery opened around 200 years after the Common, so it has a totally extraordinary Victorian feel with improving plants, winding pathways, and the tidal pond, where the well-known swan boats journey in the warm months. A few sculptures are dispersed all through the grounds, the most unmistakable being the equestrian statue of George Washington at the Arlington Gate. However, the works here additionally incorporate fun characters from the Jungle Book and make way for ducklings. 3. Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. This exhibition hall works out of the noteworthy home of Isabella Stewart Gardner, and features her own specialty assortment, which she started all alone and aggregated with her significant other. The palatial bequest incorporates work by Botticelli, Titian, Fra Angelico, and John Singer Sargent, among many, numerous others. Her assortment likewise incorporates unique pressings of books by Dante and enlightened compositions. Upon her demise in 1924, her will incorporated that the gallery be available to all, yet all works must be shown in the request that she, when all is said and done, had place it in. This implied that after a craftsmanship robbery in 1990, among the 13 taken works were a Rembrandt and a Vermeer, the spaces wherein those works hung stay unfilled. Gardner was a Red Sox fan, so limits are given to individuals wearing Sox clothing. Limits are likewise given to anybody named Isabella. 4. Trinity Church. The assembly at Trinity Church has been around here since 1733, yet the current structure was built after the Great Boston Fire. Planned by H. H. Richardson, this milestone church cemented the designer's standing and stands as the principal Richardsonian Romanesque-style building. Breaking with custom at that point, the congregation was underlying the state of a Greek cross with an open hall plan. Among its numerous imaginative highlights are hand-painted paintings by John Lafarge, stained glass windows by a few unique specialists, and many-sided mosaics. Reliably positioned in the main 10 of America's ideal and most critical engineering, Trinity Church has been highlighted in the film The Boondock Saints and the game Fallout 4. Guided and independent visits cost $7, except for the free visit following Sunday morning administration at 11 o'clock in summer and at 12:15 in winter. Do check their online schedule for current planned visits. Independent visits are potential Wednesdays through Saturdays from 10 o'clock to 4:30 and on Sundays from 12:15 to 4:30. 5. Little Italy. This North End region is the most established occupied region of Boston, with block roads and an old world feel. Structures here length the hundreds of years and incorporate the Paul Revere House from the last part of the 1600s and the Old North Church from the mid-1700s, however most came a lot later. In the mid-20th century, the area turned into the home to the biggest populace of Italian settlers in the city and still keeps up that character, with a few Italian high-end cafes, pastry kitchens, and merchants selling new pasta, olive oil, and espresso. In case you're adequately fortunate to be in Boston on the last Sunday in August, don't miss the Feast of St. Anthony, with its beautified roads, 10-hour-long procession, unrecorded music, and over 100 food trucks, a festival named by National Geographic as the dining experience of all feasts. 6. Boston Public Library. The Boston Public Library was established in 1848, yet this area was underlying 1888 and offers one of the biggest loaning assortments in the U.S. with more than 23 million things. Free visits are offered 7 days every week here, zeroing in on the broad, Renaissance-style engineering, propelled by Paris's Bibliothèque Nationale and craftsmanship-occupied spaces with clearing wall paintings by John Singer Sargent, who passed on prior to completing his last establishment here. It stays as he left it. While here, remember to make a wish by scouring the tail of one of the stone lions driving up the flight of stairs of the amazing passage inside. 7. Freedom Trail. This strolling trail twists for more than 2 miles starting at Boston Common and finishing at the Bunker Hill Monument in Charlestown on the contrary side of the river. There are 16 generally huge locales on the path, all prominent with bronze markers implanted in the walkway. A few organizations offer guided visits by docents wearing period clothing, yet guests can undoubtedly follow the path all alone, as its whole length is all around set apart in red block and free guides are accessible at the guest's middle in the common. The vast majority of the locales are allowed to visit, however a 3 stops charge affirmation, the Paul Revere House, the Old South Meeting House, and the Old State House. 8. Black Heritage Trail. This person-on-foot trail passes for 1.5 miles through Boston, generally in the Beacon Hill area, the memorable home to Boston's dark populace pre-Civil War. The path starts at the Shaw, Massachusetts 54th Regiment Memorial at Boston Common and finishes at the African Meeting House. A significant number of the locales along the path are private homes, including the Lewis and Harriet Hayden House, home of renowned abolitionists and a stop on the Underground Railroad. The Museum of African American History works 2 of the last stops, the Abiel Smith School and the African Meeting House, and offers voyages through the locales routinely all through the day. 9. Back Bay. Back Bay is the quintessential Boston area, with columns of Victorian block houses, design milestones, upscale store and name-brand shopping, and hip cafes. Situated on the south side of the Charles River, this territory was before a real cove. In any case, during the 1800s, after a bombed endeavor at building a mill dam, the territory was filled in to make more usable land for a developing city. The region is presently the most upscale piece of the city, known as the Rodeo Drive of the East. Back Bay is home to a portion of Boston's best engineering, including the Boston Public Library and the John Hancock Tower, the tallest structure in New England. You'll locate the best shopping in the city on Newbury and Boylston streets here, with many retailers covering the walkways. Stylish eateries, radiant walkway bistros, and cheery bars balance the experience. 10. Warren Anatomical Museum. Only a couple showcases on the 5th floor of Harvard Medical School's Countway Library of Medicine make up the Warren, an anatomical and obsessive exhibition hall, initially utilized for showing clinical understudies. The assortment is little however loaded up with critical things. It most broadly shows the skull of Phineas Gage, a rail laborer who endure a packing iron through his head. The packing iron is additionally here, however his character changed definitely. The Warren additionally possesses the inhaler utilized in the principal ether helped a medical procedure, an example of conjoined twins, and a Beauchene skull. The exhibition hall can be precarious to discover, as the section is on the rear of the solid library building, not in the city. Simply sign in at section, affirmation is free.